Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I've got my hearing aids in. It sounds like I'm blasting myself. Let me have a quick look and see who's in our wonderful chat. Don't forget to share. I am going to be going back once everything's all back to normal, probably after the move, trying to get shows up so people know they're there an hour or so before. If they're really important, I might do it the night before if I've seen something. But Bandit 600, John Aspinall, Deanne, hello Deanne. I've got some stuff around your house and I'm going to Devon shortly. Don't throw it away because I'm going to need that stuff, especially my dad's tools. Steve Lomas, good evening. Ray Woods, Juicy and Lucy, John Aspinall, again, Adam H.E., Angry Hippo. Who are you? Angry Hippo. That's a good little name, isn't it? People remember that. Let me have a quick look and see if I can see anyone. Don't forget, sharing is caring. I ain't hit my button yet. Let's see if we can get 100 likes before the show's ended, which I, touch wood, hope that we're going to. Let me hit the button on here because I need... Let's push that on there. Hopefully there's no sound coming off of that. Let's see if I come up. I have to keep looking forward. Oh, I've come up live. There you go. So I'm on there and I've just pressed the pause button. Shaky, 1961. Who's in there? DD and Patriots. Give me a 5x5 just to make sure that you are seeing and hearing me. Tomorrow I'm probably going to try and start packing all this stuff up and doing what I've got to do. It's a daunting experience, you know, because you're actually saying, what am I actually taking? And the rest of it is going down a dump. But there ain't that much I'm keeping, really. Although there's a few bits that are quite big. But I've got to strip this stuff down, which causes a bit more of a problem for doing a show, but never mind. But it will be as if you would throw it away. No, I know you wouldn't. All I'm saying is people don't know what them two things are. Basically the spinning tools. Motorhome. What's that one? Pufflight Motorhome. Is that an advert? A Pufflight Motorhome, whatever that means. Juicy and Lucy, Kew Gardens, hi friends. Delindo Rotulando. What's that one? Deanne. Don't forget, sharing is caring. It's really important. Don't forget to hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe if you are not subscribed. And don't forget to share this on all your platforms, because the more you share, the more people, the more you share, the more you care, and then they come over, right? And that's what we want to see, is more and more people over there. Nah, it's us. Who's us? Tell me who us is. Back for England, 56. Good evening, Patriots. Bless you all. Don't forget, just to make sure everyone's aware, I'm going to Bedford Monday night. So I'll be driving up there. I don't know how long it'll take me to get there from here, but I'm going to get there as early as possible. I've got to set up, so if anyone's going to come along there and help me, you can. That's in Bedford. It's about 2 hours away, or an hour and 40 minutes away from Thetford, believe it or not, where I'm going. So they're all reasonably easy reach. But if there's anyone in the Bedford area who wants to come along, I'll be doing the seminar. I'll be recording it, showing people. And again, you'll see a different one again. Some of the basics will be the same, going through the different statutes, etc. There's a couple more I've got to get printed off. But then you just go through it and say, that's where your rights come from. That is your constitution. You do have a written constitution, and that's what we'll be going through again. But the more people that see this and get the interaction and understand that they're being lied to, when these people turn around and say we haven't got a constitution, we haven't got a Bill of Rights, it's all lies, right? You're being lied to, and you're being lied to by the British establishment, who in effect, the British are or were created by statute. So, in effect, there isn't a real nationality there. The actual nationality of England came about because the 7 kingdoms, they didn't need a statute to do it. They all got together and had an agreement, and then next thing you know, you had a single king, one nation called England under God, and we had a common law nation that was actually come out of grassroots, and there wasn't a statute that actually said that, right? Not as far as I'm aware, unless someone tells me I'm wrong on that. But and the same thing happened with 2 separate jurisdictions, 2 separate nations, Scotland and England. And in 1603, the crowns come together in a common law union, in effect. And again, Sir Edward Coke told everyone, I think it was the Calvin case, and I think it was 1612, but I'm not sure. And he basically said, if you're a Scot or an Englishman, you've got the same rights, under the same king, under the same laws that protect both parties. So you didn't need a statutory acts of union, and you certainly didn't need the 1947 British Nationalities Act, which caused a lot of problems. It repealed things it shouldn't have repealed. And technically, our laws are still intact. It's just that you've got to understand who it is and go from there. So, Slimming, Tracy, evening. Don't forget sharing and get it out there, because there's a few things I want to talk about. Has anyone noticed that a certain person, namely President Trump, has literally put on notice the whole world that they were about to arrest Barack Hussein Obama for treason? And his argument, I don't know if this is true, or people are presenting it as an argument, that he cannot be done for treason because he's not an American citizen. He was born outside of America. So if that is all true, you've got to look at, how did that happen? Who were the people that were funding it? And I'm going to tell you, it was the British, right? That they was complicit and managed that event to try and take down the United States of America. And everyone's going to say, no. So, yeah, right. When you look where Obama technically came from, it was a British colony. And people need to understand what's going on in the background. Bathhouse Barry DD. What's the Bathhouse Barry DD? Yeah, Bathhouse Barry. If you did not receive an elections leaflet, Runcorn, blah, blah, yeah, contact us. Left a message last night, Reverend Heckler. Who did you leave a message with? A Populite. I don't know what that is. So who did you leave a message with? Did you leave a message with me, or where did you leave a message? Let me have a quick look. See if anything comes back on there. We'll have another. Pull this up before it all goes, and then I'm going to get into some of these bits to do with Trump and some other bits and pieces that have come up when being cats. A popper like cats. Cats? What do you mean about cats? Timbuktu bindings, apocalypse. But last night's show, only an hour ago. On last night's show, only an hour ago. I didn't do a show an hour ago. Grasshopper's finally got her membership pack. That's what I like. Motorhome. Oh, right. Was you the one with the bald cats? Oh, the bald cats. I like the bald cats. Kim. Juicy and Lucy, check out Graham's chatting with LSB, Chris and Bob says, blah, blah, blah. Hey, Neil 56. Anyone else out there? So don't forget, sharing is caring. I've seen some more information come out there today to do with AI and censorship and propaganda. And Rumble have said that in 2026, the most important platform out there is going to be Rumble, because it's not going to have any of that and not going to tolerate any of that. Okay, now I know who you are. Apophyllite. Right, Kim and Paul. It was Paul, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Paul. The butcher. Who does a nice bacon sandwich. Right, Archer's not. Hi, Tracy. Steve Lomas. So, I was going to, not that I'm, I don't want to advertise that, but there was one heckler who was at that event. He didn't last long. He got up and walked out because there was hundreds of people telling him to shut up, I think. But I didn't hear what he was saying. Only because the audience was like literally engaged. So I was in the zone. I don't hear things like that until I get to the question points. Keith, brother. Shaky, everyone's out there. Yep. That's it. Well done. Right. So I'm now going to be slightly distracted because I want to see if I can go and find you these elements. Now I see today, I don't know if it's on my feed. Where would it be on my watch history? There was another. There it is. Right. There was a video that came out today. Well, it didn't come out today. It's been out a year. Right. But it is fantastic. All right. I'm going to show you this because I do want people to go and watch this right from the very start. It's on for an hour and 29 minutes. Right. I'll bring it up on the thing and see if I'll hit the follow button. Right. And then we'll go from there. Let me have a look before I do anything else. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. It's Kim, who you met. Sphinx cats, their camper. Oh, right, yeah. They call Sphinx cats. I just called them bald cats. But one of them was lovely. She was looking at me. It looked like a little alien. It had green eyes. It come up and jumped on me. Come talk to me. Right. Juicy and Lucy, everyone out there. Don't forget, I like cats. Don't any cat people out there think I don't like cats. I'm just allergic to cats. Because I'm allergic to cats and I don't touch them, don't go near them, right? Hello, the wee man. And don't go near them. They seem to know that and go, why is this one not interested in me? And they sort of come up and say hello and do all sorts of things, and they sit on my lap and all that, and I don't even touch them, and they're looking like that. It's when they stop putting their claws in your lap. You're going, oh, go, and I can't touch them. No one here is Trust Farage. Tracy for 9 hours last night. Let me have a quick look. Right, let's have a look. Let's have a quick look at this one. See if I can go and find that. I'm going to show you this before I do anything else because I want you to go and watch this. All right. I only look at certain things that come up, and if they're interesting enough and it captures my interest, I will bring it up and bring it to your attention, right? And why I do that is if the person is a truth teller and telling you the truth. So Colonel Corner's podcast with War Hamster Brady, Operation Gladio 101. And in this, they're talking. So, first of all, the lady there was from the very young age. She spent 30 years, I think, and 1 month in the US Air Force, and she ended up as a colonel, right? By the way, it's a slightly different way that they put you through the ranks in America, unlike this country. You don't jump as through. It's more on merit in America than it is anything else, and time served as well. So hopefully you get enough experience and you get to the places you should be. Key to this video was she said something that I've told you many occasions, and I've actually shown. I drew a meme of it. Well, not a meme, but a diagram showing it. And what she was saying is, in this video, that there's no such thing. What the perception is of left and right politics. So she's saying that they've told you that the communists are on the left and the fascists are on the right, right? When that in fact is a complete and utter lie, right? They're both on the left because they're both authoritarian and they both want complete and utter control, right? They are totalitarian ways of governing you, right? Where the state has complete control. And she was actually going through certain things and saying that the whole thing's a lie. But she was also talking about Operation Gladio, which is a very, very, very interesting subject. It's not a conspiracy, it's fact, right? So it's already been proven and all the documents are there for it. And they had something called a stay behind group of people. Now, the other person who created the stay behind group of people, if you want to call it that, was Churchill, right? Because he actually created, I don't like saying it this way, but I will, a special forces dad's army, right? So you had the Home Guard, and then you had like literally special forces, local people that were trained. They had weapons caches, they had explosives, they had everything there. So if Germany had invaded us and took over England, we would have been able to fight back, right? It was crucially important. But she actually goes in, she doesn't talk about that as such, but what she does talk about is that they had left behind in Italy these groups, and Operation Gladio was one of them groups. And in each country, I think she said Poland had of Nazis, had really nasty Nazis. She said Ukraine is a group of Nazis that are entrenched in Ukraine, that in effect Putin is fighting against. And all of these places had these types of operations that were put in place. And to a large extent, they're autonomous in the way that they operate. But that's what you're sort of seeing in the world. But this particular video is very, very interesting, right? So all I'm doing is giving it a shout out. So if you want to know real history, in other words, not the bullshit, that lady is a proper researcher. So is that gentleman, right? And they go into a lot of detail and show you the receipts. They show you the evidence of it, and they say that this is all fact. This is not fiction, right? And it's one of the things that everyone needs to understand, that there are lots of things that people are doing out there, and in some ways you think it's not linked or not orchestrated, and it absolutely is. And the British are the masters of this, right? Just to make sure you're aware of that. Yeah, but she goes into a lot of detail about different things. I think she just touches on the Ukraine stuff, but Gary Sovereign videos, what's that one? Processed Neil 56 evening, Juicy and Lucy. If you would like to meet me, line manual charge, email address, connections, that's it. Put all that stuff out there, and don't forget, sharing is caring. Hit the like button, and most importantly, share. Mostly because this is, and let me tell you something, this platform is 100% going to be very important. Don't forget who told us to come onto this platform, which was Devin Nunes, right? Who's now in charge of the, or the oversight of the military intelligence organizations in America, and like that with President Trump, right? So this platform, meaning Rumble, when the British are trying to shut it down, you will see the truth on this platform, whether it is via me, whether it is via other people, and whether it is via the Colonel's Corner. Again, it is well worth putting the effort in to have a listen to that video, right? And then you'll start to understand what's going on. Let me have a quick look and see if I can go and find something for you. I just want to show you a few bits before I do. Oh, that's that one. I don't want that. Who do I want to talk to? Praying Medic, I think. Praying. This is someone I used to follow all the time. I still follow him, but we followed each other. They took down my account. Let me make sure I'm on the right one here. As far as I know, I'm actually following him. So he has got some fake accounts out there as well. Let me see how many people are on that. No, they got caught. I've got to go and see if I can find him. Let's see if this is the person. No, that is him, right? So you got the Chronicles Book 2, Book 3, Book 4. Let me see if I can find him. Right, so I am going to put this up there. All I'm doing is showing you some of the people you should be able to watch. Now it sounds like I'm talking underwater, but I'll put this on and hopefully we'll put this on. Let's make sure we're on. This is Praying Medic, right? So I used to watch him a long time ago. He's a very...
Then they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people.
What we're going to do now is breaking news. We have just achieved a big, important win in our historic lawsuit against 60 Minutes, CBS and Paramount. Just like ABC and George Slopadopoulos, CBS and its corporate owners knew that they defrauded the American people and were desperate to settle. Paramount, CBS, 60 Minutes have today paid $16 million in settlement, and we anticipate receiving $20 million more from the new owners in advertising, PSAs or similar programming for a total of over $36 million. This is another long line of victories over the fake news media, right? Who we are holding to account for their widespread fraud and deceit. The Wall Street Journal, the failing New York Times, the Washington Post, MSDNC, CNN, and all other mainstream media liars are on notice. That the days of them being allowed to deceive the American people are over. Make America great again, right? So, and there's another few bits on there, but there's a particular one I want to show you, which is this.
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper. The whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room right here. This was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up. They came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they look. He's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it. And we have all of the documents. And from what Tulsi told me, she's got thousands of additional documents coming. So President Obama, it was his concept, his idea, but he also got it from crooked Hillary Clinton. Crooked is a $3 bill. Hillary Clinton and her group, the Democrats, spent $12 million to Christopher Steele to write up a report that was a total fake report. Took 2 years to figure that out, but it came out that it was a total fake report. It was made up fiction. And they used that. Now, the one thing they weren't able to do was to, and probably the only thing I respect about the press in years is the press refused to write it before the election. They refused to put it in. The Steele report was a disaster. All lies, all fabrication, all admitted, an admitted fraud. She paid $12 million and the Democrats for that report to a wise guy named Christopher Steele. He wrote a phony report, and they wanted to get that report in before the election. And I'll tell you what, I talk about all the time, the fake news, how bad it is. But in this case, they wouldn't do it. They saw it, they read it, and they said, we don't believe it. And it was only after, substantially, like a month and a half after the election, that it got printed, and it was a big wisp. It was just like a bang of nothing, because the election had ended. If that report had gotten published by the New York Times or somebody, and I respect the Times for maybe only this, because they're crooked as you can be. They're a terrible paper, a crooked, corrupt paper. But for this one moment, they said, this is bullshit. We can't put this in. And neither could any other paper. Wall Street Journal's a lousy paper, very, very dishonest paper. As you see, I'm suing them for a lot of money because they do things very badly. It's got a nice name, but it's really, in my opinion, it's a terrible paper. And it can be corrupt. But just so you know, they didn't take the Steele report. It was the dossier. Remember the famous dossier? I called it the fake news dossier. The news wouldn't publish it. And I'm amazed. They had 2.5 months. It was finished. 2.5 months. That was supposed to be what was going to happen. And it got published a couple of months after the election. And frankly, nobody cared too much about it. But that was a big thing. No, we caught Hillary Clinton. We caught Barack Hussein Obama. They're the ones. And then you have many, many people under them. Susan Rice. They're all there. The names are all there. And I guess they figured they're going to put this in classified information and nobody will ever see it again. But it doesn't work that way. And it's the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever read. So you ought to take a look at that and stop talking about nonsense, because this is big stuff. Never has a thing like this happened in the history of our country. Well,
right. What he means by stop talking about nonsense, he's saying don't be led into the nonsense of the Epstein files, blah, 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 right? I'm not suggesting Epstein and others were not nonces and kiddie fiddlers and all that, right? But that was like their own little fetish, and they did use it for various reasons. But I am telling you that Epstein was a key person in military intelligence, British military intelligence, Mossad, meaning Israeli military intelligence, and potentially also a tri-agent, meaning with the CIA as well, right? This. There is nothing bigger than what we're about. I believe this is what my opinion is about to see, right? And that is once this domino at the top falls, right, which is some of these people start getting arrested and prosecuted. There's some people saying, oh yeah, well, when he gets arrested, I'll believe it when I see it. Okay, that's fair enough. I don't think people are realizing how massive this is. Every single dot above an I and every T must be crossed. And this must be the most watertight case you've ever seen. As far as I know, Obama's group are already putting out, you can't do someone for treason that isn't an American citizen. So in his defense, if he says, I'm not an American citizen, that leads another avenue, and there is something else, by the way, that whatever happens, he's in trouble, a lot of trouble, and will likely hang for it, right? And the reason why shot, and the reason I'm saying that is because this is so serious. It could lead to the end of the British monarchy, right? Full stop. It's not a minor thing in any way. So all I'm saying to the people, I understand why you say it. I'm not having a go at you. I understand why you say, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, right? This ain't a parking ticket. This isn't someone punching someone in the mouth outside a pub and it gets taken to court and it goes through the process and it's like, this is one of the biggest events probably the world has ever seen. And the fact that the British are up to their necks in it. I mean, one of the things that upset my dad when I was originally talking to him about all this, he said, they're our greatest ally. Well, I believe that America is the greatest ally of England, possibly Scotland, Ireland and Wales and Cornwall, but America is not the British don't see America as an ally in any way or form. In fact, they see him as a pure enemy, right? And the reason for that is because the English broke away and said we want the same rights as an Englishman, and that's why you're seeing the attacks on England in such a big way. EGNR, we all know Obama is a Kenyan and Michael is a bloke. Yep. And I think you're going to see all these other people that turns out, and there's a lot to be said for it. But if you understood exactly what was going on, and don't forget, I'm not an expert in any of this. All I see, I don't watch the news. I don't listen to the radio. I don't read newspapers because it's all propaganda, right? So you have to find a platform where you're going to try and get to the truth. And the only platform I can see out there at the moment, I don't even trust Twitter. The only platform I can see where you're going to get the truth from President Trump is Truth Social, and the truth as a media platform is Rumble. And that's why the British are trying to shut it down. That's why Brazil shut them down in Brazil. That's why they've been shut down in France. That's why they've been shut down in various places, right? But you are the lucky ones. Because you're going to start to see what's really happening. not just from me, but if you're on the Rumble platform, you at least know that there's a Rumble platform. Amount of people you speak to and say, no, what's Rumble? You think, where are these people living? Anyway, was there another one there? President Trump, Barack Obama, that one's for 26 minutes. Barack Obama is the ringleader. Let me play that.
No, Barack Hussein Obama is the ringleader. Hillary Clinton was right there with him, and so was Sleepy Joe Biden, and so were the rest of them. Comey, Clapper, the whole group. And they tried to rig an election, and they got caught. And then they did rig the election in 2020. And then because I knew I won that election by a lot, I did it a third time, and I won in a landslide. Every swing state won the popular vote. But I won that all the same way in 2020. And look at the damage that was caused.
See, right. So who's the person who's been telling you the truth? And there's one person out there. I'm hoping he's listening. He probably is. Right. A long time ago, he said to me that he put a bet on a lot of money on the 2020 election for Trump to win, and lost. And I said, keep the ticket. Don't forget, I know about the Gambling Act. Right. I said, keep the ticket. Don't throw it away. Right. Because I'm telling you, there is a win for you on this, right? While I don't consider myself an anon, I'm over 120 books into Operation Gladio and Condor. That's the lady I showed you earlier. And thousands of hours of audio books and podcasts, and figured out everything. I was taught in college with 6 degrees under my belt is a lie. So what she's saying, that's that woman I showed you earlier. You know the first video I showed you that you should go and watch? She's saying she's gone and done her own study, which is what I'm doing with the English and the English Constitution, etc. Right? And what she's saying is everything I was taught in college, meaning university, with 6 degrees under my belt is a lie, right? And there it is. So just to make sure you understand what's going on, paramedic Obama argues he can't be charged with treason since he was born. He wasn't born in America. So there's a load of stuff coming out there. Breaking: Senator Grassi just released a long classified Clinton annex, finally declassified by AG Bondi. Which proves Comey FBI exonerated Hillary of email server crimes despite never investigating thumb drives with compromised classified emails on them, including President Obama emails, right? So all of this is going to be coming out now. So again, this one here, DNI Tulsi Gabbard today, after nearly 60 years of questions surrounding the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we are releasing 230,000 MLK assassination files available now at archives.gov.mlk, and the documents include details about the FBI investigation into the assassination, right? So all of this is coming out, information, discussion of potential leads, internal FBI memos detailing the progress of the case, information about James Earl Ray's former cellmate, who stated he discussed with Ray an alleged assassination plot, and more. Thanks to President real Donald Trump's leadership, Executive Order 14176 resulted in 3 unprecedented interagency efforts to identify, digitize, declassify, and release files related to the federal government's investigations into the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and Dr. King. Right? So all of that information is coming out. Listen, there's going to be lots and lots of this information coming out here. And just to let you know, there he is, praying medic. Placeholder, this comes from the Q posts. Indictments tracking. Set 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Placeholder, acts of treason plus support articles. Placeholder, foreign acts PUB, whatever that is, FISA at PUB. And again, I've shown that out there before. Why didn't John Ratcliffe or Rick Grinnell make public the info just released by Tulsi Gabbard and get Gina Haspel? Gina Haspel was the CIA director in London, right? So Cash explains how Haspel blocked the release of the ICA and how she coordinated efforts by Spygate conspirators in the UK, right? So remember the UK, the UK, the UK. Another way of saying that is the British regime, the British regime, the British regime, right? So everyone needs to understand.
Always helpful when you identify government corruption that you identify the actors. And Russiagate, as we all know, was a politically funded operation into our intelligence and law enforcement communities to go to a secret court and lie about a political opponent to illegally surveil him. I mean, that took us 2 years to unpack, right? It's a big deal. But then you got to ask, wait a second, how did that happen? And who are the players behind it? And I've always said Gina Haspel is one of the leading Russiagate architects who's remained behind the scenes. She would go on to become Trump's director of the Central Intelligence Agency. But if you rewind the clock back, and this is something I've told Schellenberg and Taibbi about and many others, in 2016, when Russiagate was launched in England, Gina Haspel was the CIA station chief for England, the #1 intel officer in the United Kingdom. And the reason that's important is because for intelligence operations to be lawfully conducted overseas in any country, England or otherwise, what we call the #1 Office of Director of National Intelligence rep, the DNI rep, Gina in England, has to authorize those offensive operations for intel and law enforcement. And we now know, and we know some more details due to the new reporting, that not only were U.S. FBI and IC officials involved in bumping operations in England, but possibly other intel allies overseas. And none of that could have happened without Gina Haspel's authorization. So she's the one that helped launch Russiagate, and nobody's questioned her as to why and what the legality of that was and the extent of which she knew. And also, more importantly, the internal memorandums that she would have had to have written to authorize that conduct. Who'd she work with? Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Page, others, England, America? And why would she, the CIA representative in the United Kingdom, interfere in a presidential election cycle? That's something that they're not supposed to do, period. And I would think Americans would want to know that. So, and remember, and we'll get to the other reason why Gina is so important, about the ICA report that Devin Nunes and our team did on John Brennan's ICA. Gina Haspel was the one that blocked its release, critical release in the Trump administration, through to the end. She's the one that stonewalled it. She's the reason it's still in a safe in the CIA. I know we'll talk about that. It was a big piece of the new reporting, but that's why she's a central figure.
And how does someone like Gina Haspel then end up as a CIA director under Trump? When,
I think
obviously people knew that she was involved in this.
Well, some people just didn't want to believe it, and others just said it's not important, because back then people thought if you're talking Russiagate, you're talking right-wing conspiracy neocon theories. But in reality, you're talking the biggest corruption scandal to plague the U.S. intelligence community and law enforcement community against a weaponized target of politics in U.S. history. And so also, the fact remains that, the establishment class is always going to put forward establishment figures. And you can't fault Donald Trump in 2016 for having no idea how DC operates, because he's new to the political game, came in and said, I should be able to trust people in government. If they say that person's good and that person's great, they should, especially when it comes to national security, kind of just be like this, a little bit here and there, but pretty much down the middle. And so, to me, it shows the success of her corruption, unfortunately, in the Washington, D.C. swamp, that she was able to stretch that tenure out to the top levels of government and be one of the main architects of the corruption we're talking about, that Taibbi and you and Schellenberger and so many others have been reporting on for, I guess, now it's 6 years.
Yeah, it's really amazing, because you released the Nunes report, which you were the author of, I assume. You released that in 2018. My gosh, it's going on 6 years now since that was released. It seems like it wasn't that long ago, but here we are 6 years later, and we still don't have all of the facts surrounding this case.
We still don't have all the documents, and it's public that while we did the Nunes report and the Russiagate report, the 330-page report, and we put out the 65 some depositions we took of all the people involved in Russiagate. That took us 2 years just to get out. The second big piece of information that people are finally focusing on is, remember, in 2016 and 17, John Brennan, in a matter of weeks, was ordered by Obama to issue his ICA, his Intelligence Community Assessment. Shorthand, what did Russia do, if anything, to interfere in the U.S. elections? As if you could surmise that answer in 3 weeks, but they gave it a go. And they produced this report, which was largely false. And what we did on the Russiagate team, I'm talking Devin Nunes, me, and a couple other staffers, is think the Nunes memo, what that did to the FBI and DOJ and the FISA reporting and all that, how we deconstructed the corruption there. Well, simultaneously, we put subject matter experts against John Brennan's ICA, and we created a classified report akin to the Nunes memo on just the ICA, meaning what went into it, who did the interviews, what was the intelligence, was it relied on falsely, and was there political motivation? We answer all these questions in a 17-page report. Now, we tried to get that report out after we did the Russiagate investigation, and then we tried to get it out during the Trump administration when Johnny Ratcliffe was DNI and I was the deputy and all that stuff. And the single most important figure in blocking the release of that report on the ICA is Gina Haspel, and it never got out. So I'm glad that there's new light on that specific reporting. We have to clarify some of the things that has been written about it, but I've always wanted its release because it speaks volumes to what's now in the mainstream media about, wait a second, how much was the IC involved, and was there more corruption than we know about? And the answer is they were involved, and yes, there was tons more corruption. The problem is I can't tell you about it still because this report is still classified, sitting in a safe at CIA headquarters, because the deep state and the establishment class doesn't want you to know that they basically did what the FBI and IC did in FISA land. They did it for Brennan's ICA.
So you requested that report should have been released, right? You requested that, but Trump didn't demand it. There was no, so that's how they're getting away with this. The fact that it's still not released, because what else could you have done to get this released?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were up against. You know, I believe the president wanted it declassified. And unfortunately, people like Gina Haspel worked with people like Pat Cipollone and others at deep staters at DOJ to say, you know, the same thing they always say, oh my God, national security, people are going to die. Blah. Actually, what it always is you're covering up your own corruption. And unfortunately, we lost that fight because we just ran out of time. If we had a little more time, maybe a few more months, I think that would have come out. But Joe Biden winning was, you know, their victory, not just in the political landscape, but to bury them. So look, I think if President Trump wins, this should be declassified along with a whole host of other material. I think the American public and reporters actually should champion the release of this. You know, that clown at Washington Post, David Ignatius, actually wrote an article congratulating Gina Haspel, remind you, a journalist, congratulating Gina Haspel on blocking the release of government documents. That's what a journalist wrote. Wow. That should tell you everything you need to know about what's in this report, because I believe people leaked it to him and he saw the political bend to that reporting.
Hopefully you all understand what he's saying there. Is there another one here? Is your old mucker on there, look. This is not going to bode well for anyone when this all comes out. James Clapper confirmed years ago that it was Obama who instructed the intelligence community to fabricate an assessment implicating Trump and Russia. Right? Former DNI James Clapper admits Russia collusion came from Obama. So they will throw him under the bus because they'll try and save their own lives. Let me have a look at that one. There's plenty of stuff in there just to let you know. All right, let's go back to not sharing that. There's a couple other things I wanted to show you. These are all little important things. Oh, there's me again. So before I ask, did anyone watch the video? I put the 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think it was. There's edits because we took out the rain stuff. It took 10 hours to upload that video last night. I can't work out why, but it's a massive file. And it wasn't in 4K, but it was in reasonably high resolution. But I just want to know if anyone watched it. Here you go. I'm going to show this again for everyone who just, and you will see the English flags walking
I shouldn't go over, but it's not. This is designed just to make sure everyone knows who I am. My name's Gladio, otherwise known as Daddy Dragon. Where did I get the name Daddy Dragon from? Because I always spoke of England, and because the original English flag is not the St George's flag, it is a Wyvern, right, which is a two-legged dragon, right? So again, you've got someone who's walking about at the moment. There's different forms of the dragon. The lions are the lions under the throne. Used to be known as our judges, believe it or not. And then you've got the St George's flag in itself. So hopefully, is everyone hearing me all right? Is this mic too close? Right, so why did they call me Daddy Dragon? Because people then started to send me, because I was showing them the laws of England, etc. They started sending me books, and in it, they said to the father of England, right? Because I kept talking about England, England, England. We are 1,098 years old as a country, as one nation under God, a Christian nation.
Right, that's right, mate.
Whether or not you like Christianity, whether you're a pagan, I don't care what you are, some things people have said today are near the truth, but not bang on. But it's
There's that one again. So, and making sure that I do express this to everybody watching this show, right? No one can be right all the time. There's no such thing as an expert in a common law. Even if you had 11 judges on a panel in the High Court, or in what we used to call the House of Lords, or 12 of them, normally it'd be an odd number, so say 11, you still get dissenting judges who disagree, right? If they're so-called experts in law and they're disagreeing, it just shows that it's about the opinion of the law, right? What are we doing for our 1100th birthday celebration? That's a good question. It's 2 years ago. We got We'll do something. Remind me. A few people remind me. We'll have to do something pretty massive for England being 1100 years old, right? We have 2 years to prepare. Yeah, no, we do. Grasshopper. Let's have a look at this. Laugh out loud. That's what we were doing. Yeah, watch it. Good response, DD. Thank you. So that's what I really want to know, is making sure that everyone understands it's up there. So it's the video prior to this for 2 hours and 30 minutes or 2 hours and 20 minutes. It was a long video. I'll put it up there. There's also I believe, a cut version into 3. And I think that'll go up on our YouTube channel for people to go and have a look at it as well. Right. So as long as everyone enjoyed it and could see it, but that's the whole video. English is rising, loud and proud, rightly so. Taffy Pat, yes it is. And so with Wales. Trust me. Wales, Cornwall, England, Scotland, Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and Northern Ireland as a separate nation. Because one thing that Trump does understand is the value of self-determination and the value of the Declaration of Independence, right? So we should start seeing some good stuff coming out there. Let me have a look. There was some more stuff that I wanted to show you before I go on to anything else. Let's have a quick look and see if my notifications, because there's a lot of notifications out there today. President Trump, the witch hunt that you should be talking about is that they caught President Obama absolutely cold. They tried to rig the election and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. What is severe consequences? Well, treason, in reality, and by the way, it's got to be something so severe that people will understand what treason means. Let me have a quick look. I'm looking for something else at the moment. I'm waiting for it to come out. That might be too long for me to play that one. But everyone started to realise that what we was talking about, none of it is bullshit. By the way, does everyone like the fact that I've used the Norfolk symbol? Because don't forget, every English county for the English Constitution Party, and the Constitution is the solution, we have actually got various elements of that. We've got each county separated off, not in regions, in counties and shires. This is bringing UK countries more together. Yeah, we'll do, because we are different nations, and people need to understand that. I don't know, is it me or is it all out? Grasshopper, Tomb Army, everything they try to kill, we rightly build big with her. Toon Army, who else is out there? I'm English, not British. Taffy Pat Epping has showed we've got people willing to stand up. Yeah, it is, but you need to be very careful of that. I need to have a quick look at something else. Hang on a minute. Oh, let me. Let me see if I can bring this other one up. Oh, there's something else I wanted to show. Not that one. There's another one that come out today. Hang on a minute, 2 seconds. I'll be with you in 30 seconds. Believe it or not, I just had someone knocked on my door, but I think it was my next door neighbour just knocking to say I've got a parcel, so he can probably hear me. Are you all still there? It's nearly midweek already. Yes, it is. Do you think time is flying by, or is it me? Is things happening at a pace where you think you're waiting for the next day, and something happens, and then the next day you know something else? It just seems to be flying past. Let me have a quick look. So, yeah, I just got another one of them frames delivered, and some more bags, because I've got to pack all my stuff up. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. Linda Lusardi, DD. What? Time, I know she was quite nice, Linda Lusardi. Time is flying past. No, it is indeed. TT3 is court case going ahead. I'll be travelling down from Yorkshire. Right, so just to make sure everyone's clear on this, let me take this off the screen a second, because right, the court case on the 25th of July, this Friday, at the Royal Courts of Justice, right, starts at. So I'm going to be there at 9:30 outside having a coffee. The court case starts not before 10:30. That's what the judges said, right? And there's going to be two judges listening to what's going on, and then I will be trying to explain why we should be proceeding to a full hearing, right? And a full hearing is a trial where them two judges come along to Runcorn and Helsby. What the four respondents, including Reform, even they know that this is crooked, are trying to do is get the case kicked out. So it's important, because this is an all-day hearing. Well, I'll be arguing that you can't kick it out because it's a fundamental right. So everyone should understand that. So sorry, working. What's working? Don't forget to show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribe to the channel. No, include that is absolutely right. And don't forget to follow me on there. Let me have a look and see if there's anything else going on. There you go. I don't know if there's anything on there in a minute. Let me just see if there's anyone who sent me any messages. I think they have. Where's that gone? Oh, there it is. You never know. Something comes up in there. Nope, it's not come up in there at the moment. So we will wait and see what's coming up. That's it. I noticed time sped up 10 or 15 years ago. It's still speeding up. No, I agree with you. Who are the Yanks that were taking interest? They were from the American Embassy, I believe. They didn't come and speak to me, by the way. Let me have a quick look. Not that I would want them to. Richard Tice mentioned election fraud parliament. When did he do that? Grasshopper, we believe that there were representatives from the American Embassy. It should be rope we need to invest in. Let me have a look. Message sent, comment on last night's show. Message sent, comment on last night's show. Message sent on what? I don't get what you're saying. Evening to you. I think it's related to CERN, the Hadron Collider speeding up time. Good evening to you, TID, who's that one? Change my picture, good call. Right, let me have a quick look. There is something else that I wanted to show you. So what I'm going to do now is go back onto this. Listen, this tonight really is just about catching up with a few things that's happening. There was a 10-minute video there. They're risking everything. That's a 1 day old one. That ain't the one I want to see. There's another one they've just done, but I think I'm not sure whether it's gone up there or not. Let's have a quick look. We've already shown this, but I will show it again. But this is doing it in a slightly different way.
The documents released by Tulsi Gabbard last Friday night don't just demonstrate Barack Obama's coup d'etat against the newly elected president of the United States. The decisions made then led straight to the current war in Ukraine and the destruction of the critical thinking abilities of over half the United States population. While the media tried to mute Gabbard's explosive disclosures, saying they were old news and typical Trump revenge, many Trump supporters downplayed them also, insisting that no one will ever be held to account. Both are dead wrong. DNI Gabbard has gone right to the top, to the president who sold us out to the deep state, more properly known as the modern British financial empire. If her investigation proceeds as I think it will, the world will be changed forever by the events of the next couple of weeks. I'm Barbara Boyd, and I've covered every aspect of the coup against Donald Trump from 2016 forward. The documents Tulsi Gabbard released Friday night are a major blow against the deep state, which will be followed by more releases this next few weeks. Today, I'm going to first revisit the critical months of December 2016 and January 2017 and show exactly what was set into motion then. A color revolution here and a war against Russia in which millions have been killed. Then I'm going to highlight key events in the march to Joe Biden's election. Finally, I'll review the first 6 months of Donald Trump's second administration. But before I start, if you haven't already, please go to the Promethean Action website and subscribe. Lots of you are tuning in and appreciating what we do, but haven't subscribed. Don't you think it's time to turn those favorable comments into a sub? Come on, let's just do it. Tulsi Gabbard's Friday disclosures showed that the United States intelligence community did not believe that Russia stole the 2016 election for Donald Trump. They had been illegally investigating this claim, which came from British intelligence, using every illegal trick possible. But they came up empty. They tore up the Constitution to elect Hillary, but she lost, and now it was possible everyone involved would go to jail. So Obama, at a December 9th meeting with all his intelligence and military chiefs, said, let's manufacture the evidence to support Clinton's big lie about Trump and Russia. But they did much more than even that. They ordered up a color revolution against the incoming Trump presidency, using the total censorship and psychological warfare strategies first developed in their 2014 coup against the duly elected president of Ukraine. These tactics aimed at inducing people to behave in the way the psychological warfare experts want were developed by the British military and by contractors for Hillary Clinton's State Department and NATO. They are called full spectrum information warfare, the combined use of total censorship and 24/7 offensive propaganda supplemented by scripted riots, street violence, and social chaos. That's what the MI6 agent Christopher Steele was expert at, and why he spent more time with Victoria Nuland at the State Department than the FBI. That's why President Trump recognizes our media as the enemy of the people. That's why Tulsi Gabbard says they're in every institution of the government. Right after the election, the Washington Post kicked off the censorship campaign, targeting any journalist with neutral views on Russia for censorship. Journalist cells operating through the British military's Integrity Initiative went to work on the propaganda campaign. President Obama froze all diplomatic relations with Russia. When Trump tried to speak with Putin, the media assault was deafening. Once Biden got in, the British and NATO war plan against Russia went into full operation. On the same day, December 9th, that Obama ordered a new official intelligence assessment To support these lies, both the New York Times and Washington Post published that assessment's conclusion based on obvious CIA leaks before it had even been fully constructed. Now let's go to the road to 2020's election. The game plan for subverting the first Trump administration and electing Joe Biden was laid out by a woman named Rosa Brooks, speaking on behalf of the deep state on January 30th, 2017, in a Foreign Policy magazine article. She said, first, we'll impeach Trump based on a phony criminal investigation or manufactured scandal. If that doesn't work, we'll get his cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment. And if none of that works, we'll stage a coup. She was involved and followed through on all of that. The coup, set on its final stage by the 2020 election and the installation of the mentally vacant Joe Biden as president, was meant to end our sovereignty forever, absorbing us into the globalist world order. Trump's first impeachment came into being right after the phony Mueller investigation crashed and burned. His wish on bankrupted, criminally prosecuted, and jailed key Trump supporters while deeply corrupting our courts. The impeachment was based on Trump questioning why the United States was arming Ukraine, what was Ukraine's role in Russiagate, and what was Joe Biden's corrupt deals in that country when he became its viceroy after the Ukraine coup. All of the impeachment witnesses have been directly involved in the 2014 Ukraine coup. Then came COVID and the George Floyd riots and a censorship and continuing psychological warfare attack on both the president and the population, which would carry through to the November election. Many lost all trust in medicine, science, and our government, and lost all ability to think critically. If you want to learn more about this, I'm posting on our website this week, emphasizing the roles of the Transition Integrity Project, the Democratic Party's insurrection campaign, and what has been called the Censorship Industrial Project, and all of their relationship to the British Imperial Empire. Now, you'll see, based on Trump's actual policies, why they did all of this. 6 months in, the physical transformation of the United States into a sovereign nation again is proceeding. We're pursuing new inventions at the frontiers of science while building a 21st century manufacturing and industrial superpower. They knew Trump wanted to do this, and that's why they launched the coup. But our controlled media side warriors don't want you to discuss and learn about Trump's American system economic revolution. Instead, they want you debating about a Bade birthday card with Trump's name on it sent to Jeffrey Epstein in 2003. Trump's tariffs have produced $100 billion in new direct revenue, and those tariffs, together with tax incentives favoring new plants and equipment, have sparked a flood of new reshored manufacturing and industrial building in the United States. Major new big energy projects reaching advanced nuclear power and natural gas and clean coal are underway, while the feudal wind and solar boondoggle has been ended. New mines are opening up, as is lumber production in our native forests. At the same time, vocational trade training is being put on a fast track to upskill our workers for tomorrow at wages which will allow families to thrive. We have a shortage of skilled workers presently, and that's not because we are deporting unskilled immigrants. It's because prior administration sought a post-industrial society. So the labor force in manufacturing and agriculture is in transition, with deportations ending wage suppression and automation pushing forward to raise productivity. This week, Trump will announce tariffs on pharmaceuticals, ending our deadly dependence on the Chinese and other offshore production of vital medicines. The initial plans for an advanced missile defense for the United States are on a fast track, creating the basis to end the regime of nuclear terror, which has dominated the world since Hiroshima. Otherwise, Trump is focused on ending the forever wars because you can't have prosperity and trade without peace. Taking down the deep state, I can't emphasize enough how important it was to end USAID, which was where the CIA used funders like George Soros to run their foreign regime change schemes. Just last week, the Defense Department pulled all of its speakers out of the Aspen Security Forum, a globalist haven, and they said so. They said they weren't going to allow anybody from the Defense Department to participate in an event that, quote, promotes the evil of globalism, disdain for our great country, and hatred for the President of the United States. So it looks to me like Tulsi Gabbard and the DOJ, in setting out to build a seditious conspiracy case covering everything our traitors have done in the past 10 years, are also on the road to finally draining that pernicious swamp that has stunk up Washington, D.C. for decades now. So you see, there's a lot more features to this story than the media has bothered to report to you, and I'll be filling them in on my posts on the Promethean Action website this week. That's what we do. Find the real story and the truth and tell it, hoping that inspires all the patriots listening to expand their horizons and educate themselves. We aspire to the level of education and critical thinking of our founders. That's why we can ensure, if we do that, that we'll win. Again, we need to expand. We'll be doing a live show with myself and Susan to answer your questions on the 31st. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when it will air and how you can participate. Please go to the website and subscribe. Join our community. I'll see you again on Saturday.
Thanks for watching.
There you go. Did you all hear that? What? Think critically according to who? Critical thinking is what she means. Critical thinking just means think for yourself. Don't be dragged into anything. So just to make sure everyone is aware of what I'm actually talking about as well, which hopefully you'll all understand at some stage. I've got this terrible feeling that people are being suckered into going over to Epping, right? I know how everyone feels. They're winding everyone up. They're creating a target. Everyone's going there. I'm pleased to a large extent that Tommy Robinson was sort of having second thoughts. I think he decided he weren't going to go there. You've got to let local people do it. My strong view is we're only going to get out of this with a militia, right? And militia is not a negative thing; it's a very positive thing, and it's to community, right? So when things go tyrannous, which they have, you can police your own communities. You do it, right? You've got the same powers as an Englishman or an Englishwoman. You've got the same powers as a police constable, bar one, I think it is. That's it. So hopefully everyone was listening. I feel hot for some reason. I don't know why. Let's hit the button and see who's on there. So we've gone over 108. Well done. Don't forget to hit the like button. All I've done tonight is just shown you the clips so we can start cashing up what's going on. Friday's really important. Royal Courts of Justice. You can't come in and out and get into there. And so you've got to try and get there for 10. All go and sit in there. I'll be there about 9:30 having a cup of coffee as usual. That's it. So all I'm saying is everyone get up there. I'll have a look. Thank you. Let's have a look what's going on there. And then what I've got to do is start breaking up all this stuff and packing it away. It's going to drive me mad. That's it. Apparently they're in Canary Wharf now. Yeah, no, that they are. And just to make sure it's clear, the guy who owns let me have a quick look. The guy who owns Britannia hotels just happens to be Jewish. He's now a domicile and lives in Austria and don't pay any tax. And bearing in mind, his mum and dad, I believe, come here to get away from the Holocaust. So just shows. But he is the person, and he's now getting millions every year from the hotel migrants living in there, right? and helping to destroy the company. Clear Springs is another one. Owned a massive amount of money from the government, got paid nearly $1 billion, I think it was, to do the same thing, buy up properties, put migrants in them, another Jewish fella. And I'm sure if you start looking at the board of Serco and Mears Group, you'll find that many of them are Jews as well, right? All I'm doing is telling you the truth, right? And I find it quite shocking that people like Tommy Robinson are not querying that. There's lots of things that people ought to know. And I think it was in 1753, there was, I think it was 1753, they tried to, what's the word I'm looking for? Naturalize Jews, and in 1753, right? And there was a big debate at the time. People didn't like Jews then for what they was doing. They didn't want to naturalize them. They didn't want to take the Christian oath. There was lots of things going on. But just to let you know, right, one group of people put in a lot of opposition to naturalizing Jews, so much so that they created their own bill in Parliament and put it forward. Can anyone guess who the people were, or what group of people with its own charter, with a remembrancer in Parliament? I'm giving you a big clue here. Who do you think it was that said, we do not want to naturalise Jews? We don't want them here as naturalised people, right? The City of London. Just to make sure. So all of a sudden you see things, people targeting the City of London, and I start to think, if everyone's being pushed to target the City of London, who's doing that, and what is it, right? Just to let you know. So that's it. I am going to piss off after leaving you with that one, but there's lots going on out there. I will see you tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Hopefully I'll be earlier and get everything set up all right. But I've been waiting for a few things to turn up and do different things here. So that's it. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution.